Hello, everybody. Warm welcome to our full moon practice. Can I invite you to write down in the chat something you're grateful for? This moment. Abundance. Grateful for all the knowledge, for being alive. God. Warm bed to sleep. Lucky person. Life. I'm grateful for the love in my life. Full moon meditation on Saturday. Full best day for my balanced mind today. So nice. Balanced mind has a very unique taste. Once you taste it, very nice. Abhi tak jag rahi hu, attend kar rahi. My laptop and internet. I'm grateful for being able to sight the beautiful moon, for being present in the moment for this life. I'm able to attend today's session as a lot of guests at home, but all are sleeping. You put them off to sleep. What did you put in their food? What did you put in their food, Purnima? So lonely. Grateful for everything. This practice. Weather. You know, I read something really interesting about gratitude recently. I should read it out to you. I have it on my phone. Okay, so it goes like this. A few years ago, I bought, oh, by the way, this was shared with me by Subbu Iyer. He sent me this article. A few years ago, I bought a gratitude journal. This was right around the time that gratitude lists were becoming popular. So I jumped on the bandwagon. I started every day by listing 3 things I'm grateful for. It would look something like this. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for our dogs. I'm grateful that I live in an amazing city. Things were off to a great start. Listing what I was grateful for brought a smile to my face each morning and helped me start the day on a positive note. But within a week, the effect began to taper off. The boost in my well-being decreased each day. I began to go through the motions of counting my blessings, but it had no noticeable impact on my life. The items in my list quickly became the new norm. Social psychologists would say that I adapted to them. The exercise lost its meaning, so I abandoned it. I initially thought there was something wrong with me. I can't even do gratitude right. I'm so ungrateful. But then I came across a study highlighted in an episode of the Pink Cast. It turns out that I'm not alone. The research is mixed on whether expression of gratitude boosts happiness. At least 4 studies found that expressing gratitude for positive events had 0 effect on participants' well-being. Does that mean we should give up on gratitude? Not so fast. The researchers in the above study applied a contrarian approach to gratitude. Instead of asking participants to reflect on the presence of a positive event, such as, I'm grateful I met my wife, they asked participants to reflect on its absence. What if I had never met my wife? In other words, they asked participants to undo positive effects and picture a counterfactual world where that positive event had never happened. The results were striking. People who compared themselves to an alternative, worse-off version of their current self reported more positive states. Researchers called this the George Bailey effect, in homage to the classic movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Have you all seen It's a Wonderful Life? It's worth seeing. I think you can get it free on YouTube. It's slightly long. It's a really wonderful movie. In this movie, George Bailey is on the verge of committing suicide on Christmas Eve when a guardian angel arrives to rescue him. Rather than asking Bailey to count his blessings, the angel does the opposite. He takes Bailey on a tour of a counterfactual world, a world in which Bailey had never been born. This tour shows Bailey all the people he has touched and makes him realize how precious his current life is. This cinematic insight captures a powerful psychological dynamic. Subtraction of positive events counteracts our tendency to take them for granted. So I try to create the George Bailey effect in my own life. For example, instead of expressing gratitude for my wife, I thought about all the ways we might have never met. If I hadn't been assigned to a particular floor in a particular dorm in college, I wouldn't have met my college best friend Joe. If I hadn't met Joe, his wife wouldn't have brought him a round trip ticket as a birthday present to visit me in Chicago. If Joe hadn't visited me, we wouldn't have gone to see an awful 90s cover band at a bar called Castaways. And if I hadn't gone to Castaways, I wouldn't have bumped into the woman whom I would later marry. I next thought about all the ways that my life would be dramatically worse if I hadn't met my wife. The joys, the laughter, the companionship, the adventure that would have been denied. This exercise made me realize, in a far more powerful way than before, how fortunate I am that life unfolded as it did. So this Thanksgiving, create the George Bailey effect in your life. Instead of counting your blessings, subtract them. The results will surprise you. So I found this to be a very interesting article. So why don't we try this for a few minutes? Think of something you are grateful for in your life. For example, I'm grateful that quite early in my life, I got into meditation about 16 years old. So now, whatever you've decided, now get counterfactual. Suppose that had never happened. Suppose you did not have that. So now how would your life be? Now take a deep breath. Would anyone like to share? What was it like? You can raise your hand if you like. Let me ask Shilpa. Shilpa, you want to share? What was it like for you? Unmute.
I thought of too many things, and too many things came to my mind. I wasn't thinking of one particular thing.
That's okay.
So till this point, everything came to me, including all the good things and bad things. If even the so-called bad things, like even losing my parents, hadn't happened, I would not, probably it's too far-fetched a thing to say, but I would not be on this path. So things like that. So too many things were coming to my mind.
Yeah. Of course, we can never know, but it's definitely an interesting exercise.
Yeah.
I was kind of finding it a little funny where someone says, suppose you never met your wife, and someone says, wow, how good. Well, as long as you feel good at the end of it, one way or the other. Oh, sorry, you got muted again. Sorry, you're saying nothing. Unmute. Finish what you're saying.
No, so the gratitude angle I would like to say is that, that they had such a huge part in getting me, on this path. Sure. So yeah, I am eternally grateful to them for that. So I don't see death anymore as death. So
very powerful.
Huge thing. So yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share? Dolly, you were raising your hand, then you put it down.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, it was just one thing that came immediately to my mind was that if I wouldn't have met my ex-husband, I wouldn't have my daughters the day of today.
Mm.
I mean, and for me, that's the most precious thing that I have the day of today. Of course, I would have had kids, maybe or maybe no, who
Mm.
knows?
Mm.
But yeah, if it wouldn't have been him, I wouldn't have them what they are today.
So true. Yeah. At least you wouldn't have these specific daughters, and you might.
Exactly. Like the way they are, what they are, how they are,
That's right.
everything. Those specifications.
Mm. Lovely. Thank you for that.
So yeah, and it's amazing how it's just the first thing, in spite of all the bitterness and everything that there is in the relationship with him.
Mm.
I think so. I'm still grateful because I have them.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you for that. Rashi, go ahead.
Hi, Nithya.
Hi there.
So I'm just grateful for the very basic fact that in spite of having a very odd and a very rough childhood, I mean, as a kid, I don't think I had it straight. I had a very complicated childhood because I had lost my dad when I was just a baby, like 4 years old, and my mother had to go through a lot to raise me up. I think I fairly was brought up, and I turned out to be a very sane and a very normal human being with barely any complication, complexes, and kind of any extremist attitude, and a very understanding approach towards life. So I'm very grateful to my mom for helping me, I mean, for raising me for whatever, despite all the challenges, for
Mm.
raising me to be a very sane person and very normal so far.
I get afraid of people who say I'm very sane. Troubling.
Fairly sane. Of course, I have my abnormalities and idiosyncrasies, but who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Troubling.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is good practice. And I think the broader thing I want to say is that one homework pretty much all of us have is, what's that quote? It goes something like, you were not responsible for how you were treated as a child, like whatever kind of so-called damage happened to you. That was not your responsibility. But cleaning that up now, that is your responsibility. You can't just blame it on your parents or your circumstances. What happened, but now you have to, this much homework we have, you cannot just pass it on forever. Right? Like we say, don't blame your parents. They also had parents. So then you can keep on kicking the ball back endlessly. So the homework, I had gone for a retreat with Dr. John DeMartini, who was quite a wonderful speaker and teacher. And he said something quite powerful. He said that the great discovery is that this universe is an immaculate balance. Now, whether you agree or not, understand it or not, doesn't matter. This universe is an immaculate balance, down to the atomic level, down to the subatomic level. Everything's in balance. So just because something happens in your life that you imagine to be a terrible, terrible thing, doesn't mean that it actually is a terrible thing. That's from your perception, right? As we all know, when it rains, for example, it's bad news for some, but it's good news for some. Some people are very upset that their plans got spoiled. And some kids are very happy, that, oh, now we don't have to go to school. The school bus is not coming or whatever, it's not, everything is just what it is, right? If you were a face mask manufacturer, COVID's been great for you. Like suddenly like, wow, like 3,000% increase in business, what you thought we would achieve in 10 years, you'd achieve in 1 year. So it's nothing is good or bad in itself. It's really where you're coming from. So what Dr. John DeMartini said is, go back in your life and look at the points where you said that shouldn't have happened. That was a bad thing that happened. And he made us list out these points that were so-called bad things that happened. And then he made us sit and examine it again and again and again. I think he gave us a list of some 40 different questions. And we had to ask 40 different questions on that same event until we could see that in many ways it was a blessing. And then you can really see, like just like right now when we're saying, suppose this had not happened, suppose this positive thing had not happened, then how my life would be. Then similarly, that negative thing had not happened, then how your life would be actually poorer for it. how those so-called negative things set us up for determination, resilience, clarity of thought for the rest of our lives. And when that happens, it's almost like a energetic experience. You have a sense of a collapse, like the nice phrase, like a quantum collapse. Boom, it's gone. What's gone? It's that imbalance in your system is just gone. It's like something in you, like imagine, like suppose you're just walking tilted way your whole life. And someone just comes and corrects you, like, oh, that's better. It's nice. Or you're wearing your glasses upside down. And someone just comes and corrects you, oh, that's much better, thank you. Or you were holding your phone upside down the whole time. And so something was upside down and got straightened up, and your entire system goes through a bit of a shift. I had this very strong, I think one of the first times I experienced this was, I mentioned learning meditation quite young. So I think I was my second course, 17 years old. I went to Jaipur and I'd gone for this 10-day meditation course. And on the 9th or 10th day, must have been the 9th day, when we learn a practice called Mangal Maitri, loving kindness. And for about 2 hours, we radiate good wishes. So we've done 9 days of meditation already. And the last 2-3 hours before we start talking to each other, we've been in silence the whole time. We practice loving kindness. So in that meditation, I had been holding a grudge against my mother for the last 3-4 years. I think teenagers, this happens sometimes. In my case, it was pretty deep. So I'd been holding a grudge. And I literally would not talk to her for anything except pocket money. Just the transactional stuff. Really, I just did not. And I was really angry with her. And in that process, something in me began to melt. It melted. And it literally completely just melted. And the heart just opened. And I realized, what the hell am I doing? I'm hurting myself. She did whatever she did in her understanding. She did not have bad intention. That was just the way she was, right? She did what she did. And I was hurting myself. And when I saw that, then I had compassion for myself. I had compassion for her. I had compassion for the situation. I saw it from a different perspective, not my locked-in perspective of how unfair it was and how mean she was. I saw it from a different perspective. And I experienced in those 1 or 2 hours, I noticed a complete shift. And I realized I've been carrying this weight on my shoulders for so long. Oh my goodness. Like I've been wearing a scarf of cactus around my neck. So foolish. I took it off. And it felt so good. And that was the most powerful, until that point in my life. I'd never experienced something I'd been holding for so long. Imagine holding something for 3-4 years. And then it just goes away like that in a matter of 2 hours. Can you imagine the relief? I just felt I was flying in the air. I couldn't believe it. And I had caused this for myself. I had troubled myself in this way. And of course, once you get a sense of that, then this becomes, the first time is always usually the best. Then it gets familiar. Then you get a sense of how this quantum collapse works. I'm just giving it a fancy name, quantum collapse. But basically, it is the polarities collapse. One way you can do this is you can, any situation in your life, put one thing in the right hand, put one thing in the left hand. Like something you really want, something you don't want. Something like any kind of split in your life. You put it in the right hand, left hand. You put your hand on your knees. You want to try? Do it with me. Put your hand on your knees. Palms are face up. And so take any part of your life you're feeling split. I should be like this. I shouldn't be like this. I should do more of this. I should do less of this. This shouldn't have happened. This should have happened. Any kind of split in your life. And then imagine a pendulum that is suspended from your third eye and swinging between your right and left palm. So go to your right hand, whatever it represents, and feel that. And swing to your left hand and feel that. And like this again, swing back to your right hand. Maybe right hand is something you want, left hand is something you don't want. Any kind of split in your life. Again, swing back to the left hand. And like this, swing your attention between this and that. Should happen, shouldn't happen. Want, don't want. Like, don't like. Again, swing. And each time you swing now, this pendulum becomes a little bit shorter. It's a little bit shorter. So now it's not reaching the hands, it's reaching somewhere near your chest. It's still swinging. Right hand, left hand, towards the right hand, towards the left hand. Now it's swinging somewhere near your chin. It's suspended from your third eye, between your eyebrows. And now it's swinging somewhere close to your nose, right hand, toward the left hand. Right side, left side. And now you go ahead and you focus on your third eye. The pendulum collapses and just becomes 1 point. And discover the point that is the combination and transcendence of these two polarities. Left and right, right and left, meeting at the third eye. What perspective includes both these perspectives and transcends both these perspectives? And just be in silence at your third eye. Now I'll take a deep breath. Join both your hands together. Namaste. Slowly open your eyes. So I found this practice to be really powerful. This is just one way. There are many ways you can do this, but the point of realizing that the peace we are seeking is not to be found in polarities. It's to be found in the balanced view, not this and that. Not thesis, not antithesis, but synthesis. Not this thought or that thought, but the silence that connects them both. There's another very interesting tool I learned years back. It's called matrix energetics. So in matrix energetics, of course, it's quite an interesting tool, many things are there. But one thing they do is you take any hand, like 2 fingers, and touch any part of your body. For example, this one. And you think of any issue, any problem that's going on in your life. You take the other hand, you touch any other part of the body. Could be your knee, could be your belly, could be your head, doesn't matter. Just touch any part. And that represents a solution. Right? So this is the problem, this is the solution. You close your eyes. And in your mind, you try to feel as though both these hands are touching. And the moment they touch, it's like, that painting Michelangelo where God and what's his name? Creation.
Michelangelo painting.
So, but who's touching who? So God's touching man.
God's touching man.
So God's about to touch man. And in that moment, when they actually touch, your eyes are closed, and when they actually touch, there's a collapse. It's quite fascinating. It's fun to do these things. So the more important of the techniques is the principle. And the principle is that suppose you had this point of view, even if you haven't fully realized it, that's fine. But you had this point of view that every point in your life, that anything that's ever happened in your life has been absolutely perfect. Even if it doesn't feel like it. It's been exactly what needed to happen. What kind of energy does that free up? Anything that has ever happened, you know what automatically happens? You start losing your fear of the future. Why is that? Future is nothing but a projection of the past. The so-called good times of the past, you want to recreate in the future. The so-called bad times of the past, you hope will never happen again. That's all the future is. Future is the projected past. When you clean up your past, you clean up your future. And you expand your present. A powerful principle. And it gave me a lot of confidence, this understanding that no matter what anyone's gone through, you may have lost your loved ones, you may have lost your money, you may have, gotten really sick. But with this recognition, we are tapping into something deeper. I remember years back reading about a man who was diagnosed with advanced cancer, and he was told he has 3 months to live. There's a nice phrase, when doctors say it's incurable, then you should hear exactly what they're saying. It's incurable. It's curable from the inside. It's incurable. Okay, thank you, doctor. So he began, every morning, he began getting up and being so thankful for that day. So thankful. Wow, I have 1 day to go. I have 1 day to go. Right? And you see, there's a lovely principle that whatever you're grateful for, whatever you appreciate, appreciates. So he was waking up every morning and being so thankful. He was thankful for life. When you're thankful for life, you get more life. This interview was done 30 years after that time. He lived for over 30 years. That's amazing. And even if you have to go, what better way to go than that? What better way to go than with a smile? Right? So you live for as long as you gotta live. How we live our day is giving us some indication of how we live our life. Microcosm, macrocosm. How do you wake up in the morning? How do you go to bed at night? It's giving you some indication of how your day is, how your day indicates your life. So let's do our best to be kind. Let's do our best to be compassionate. Let's do our best to have a sense of humor. Let's do our best to hold it lightly, not tightly. And life becomes beautiful. And everything is seen as in balance, balanced view. When I first began sharing, then people would come to me and they'd request a meeting with me and they'd sit across from me. And all this emotion is coming up, Nithya, this happened. And they're sharing with me whatever's happening in the family, whatever's happening in their life. And I'm noticing this person is sitting on a rather comfortable chair in a rather comfortable room. And actually everything's fine. What's bugging them is not this moment. What's bugging them is their thinking, right? This moment is fine. It's a beautiful moment. Of course, I'm not going to tell them that they're not in a place to receive that. But at least from me, what do I see? I see absolute perfection. This moment is perfect. Nothing wrong with this moment. But there's something that can be improved. What can be improved? What you're thinking about in this moment, your way of looking at this moment. So quite naturally, it came to me to practice deep listening. What is deep listening? Bearing witness. So yeah, is this what you're saying? Is this what you're feeling? Is this what you're wanting? And just check your understanding. It was a great relief for me to realize I don't have to fix anyone's problems. But most of the time, people don't want to be fixed. They just want to be heard. Right? In fact, if you try fixing them too early, you see, when you're trying to fix them, giving them advice, you're activating a different part of their being instead of just empathizing and giving them space. So just listening and without even telling them that, recognizing them as absolutely perfect. If I was a psychologist, a psychotherapist, I might start diagnosing. If I was a coach, I'd start diagnosing what tool to use. What does this person need? But suppose I assume there's nothing that they need, they're fine. Suppose I hold the energetic field that you're completely fine. Without even saying it, I just hold that field. And I see the perfection in this person. It transmits something at a subtle level. And all our thinking at a subtle level projects something, transmits something. So I'm seeing them as whole and complete. I remember a lady called me and saying, Nithya, I have to tell you, a few years back, I attempted suicide. So what happened? She said, I jumped out of my 4th floor apartment. She was in hospital for a while. She survived. She said, I've been depressed for a long time and I've tried many things. I said, what all have you tried? She said, I've tried therapy, I've tried medicine, I've tried this and that and everything. I said, how's it going? She said, no, nothing. It hasn't really helped. I said, what happens when you're depressed? She said, I sleep a lot, I eat a lot, and I watch a lot of TV. I said, okay. So I said, okay, so for so many, you've attempted suicide. You have, for so long, you have been, you've tried pretty much everything. So in all likelihood, no matter what I tell you, tomorrow also, you will sleep a lot, you will eat a lot, and you will watch a lot of TV. So since that's going to happen anyway, why not enjoy it? She said, what? I said, yeah, just enjoy it. If you're going to sleep, just enjoy sleeping. If you're going to eat, and eat something nice. If you're going to watch TV, watch something nice. She said, you're telling me to enjoy my depression. I said, well, it's going to happen anyway. Why not enjoy it? And she began laughing. Is something wrong with you, Nithya? You're not helping me here. I said, I don't see anything wrong, And so she put down the phone. And the next evening she calls me. I said, I don't know what you've done. She said, I've been smiling the whole day. And because all we did was we gave her permission to be. Instead of making it into a problem and putting her onto a path, okay, you need to do this and this and this. You need to, you need to do sun gazing, you need to drink more water, you need to have this medicine, you need to, change your diet, you need to whatever. No, just simple. Right? And there's no guarantee it would have helped her. This is not even a new strategy. This is just very simple, right? So deep listening, deep love, and deep silence. This naturally came to me. What is deep listening? Tune into what the other person is going through. Tune into it, but don't get sucked into it. There's a difference. This is very fascinating. It's the difference between, you could say, sympathy and empathy. But even sympathy and empathy. It's like you get sucked in. Instead of getting sucked in, it's like that's activating your pain body. At some level, it will activate your pain body. But can you be in a place of just witnessing and not getting completely sucked in? And so for me, the simple thing was noticing that right now they're fine. They're sitting in a comfortable chair. There's a nice cup of tea in front of them. The room is quite nice. AC is on, fan is on. What's the problem? Nasakdat Maharaj says, nothing troubles us but our imagination. Just check in your life. I've checked this many, many times. You also need to check it. The words will not do it. You've got to check it again and again. Check it in the middle of your most tiresome experience, difficult experience. What's bugging me? Is it this moment that's bugging me? Or is it my thoughts about this moment, how it should be, could be, would be? When you miss your flight, what bugs you? Missing the flight? You're in a nice airport. Air conditioner's on, right? People are wearing nice clothes. The pretty lady is saying, sir, you missed your flight. We'll try to put you on another flight. What's bugging is the thought, oh my goodness, what does it mean? The people are waiting for me, what's going to happen? And the reaction, I think a lot of this is also conditioned. Depending on which, did you know this? That, in India, when two cars collide, it is normal to get out and start fighting. In the West, when two cars collide, it is normal to get out and check, are you okay? There's a big difference. Is everything okay? Can I help you? There's a big difference. In India, even if the person is okay, he will soon not be okay because he's going to get a punch. In the West, you check, are you all right? Should I call the ambulance? It doesn't matter because, whoever's fault it was. Because then if you get into a fight, then whatever problem, that doesn't matter. Then you're going to get sued and you're going to sue your pants off. One slap you give someone, they're going to sue your pants off. So don't even dare do that. Right? So this is a cultural thing. When a flight is cancelled, have you noticed? There's those 10 people who get very upset. They start screaming and shouting. And everyone missed their flight. They're not the only ones with important things. But some people really argue with reality. And what are that poor, person supposed to do? It's not their fault. It's gotten cancelled. It's not like they said, let me cancel. I don't like these guys today. We'll just cancel it for these people. Have you noticed? I don't know if you noticed this in flights, when they have to give you some news that you may not like, you should pay attention. The what do you call them? Stewards, right? The attendants, flight attendants, they'll come and they'll kneel down and they'll talk to you. Because they found this when they look down at you and talk to you, you feel like they're being aggressive. So whenever they have to tell you, for example, I'm vegan. So it happens all the time that despite my booking a vegan meal, They haven't kept a vegan meal for me, right? Then they'll come, they'll bend down, then I already know what's happening. It's unfortunately, your vegan meal was not kept. We're doing the best we can. I said, yeah, I know you're doing the best you can. I said, get me something. We'll get you something. Then go to the business class and get me something. But they'll always bend down, right? It's very interesting. They'll bend down and they'll talk up to you. They're just doing their work. Nothing troubles us but our imagination. Very powerful principle. So check what's wrong with this moment. In the middle of the most difficult situation of your life, check what's wrong with this precise moment. You'll find nothing wrong with it except your imagination. Doesn't mean it's always comfortable. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But you can handle discomfort. What you cannot handle is the imagination of what's going to happen. That's a make-believe thing. We can handle pain. We can't handle suffering, because suffering is an imaginary thing. Pain is inviting attention. When you have pain in the body, it's inviting attention. How do you deal with pain? Your body is saying, give me attention. All right, so give it attention. Send a part of your consciousness, suppose you have pain in the leg, send a part of your consciousness down, down, down to the pain. And said, yes, I know you want attention, and you have my full attention. So now you can relax. And you'll find the pain goes down in most cases. The more you're trying to resist it, why is it happening? What does it mean? Oh my goodness, what medicine do I need? The more the pain increases. What you resist will persist. What you welcome is not a problem. Fully feeling what we are feeling is very healing. My teacher Ajahn Chah, he was a monk who would try different methods. This actually happens to him. When you go deep into your own being, then skillful means start to arise. Upaya, it's called in Buddhism. Upaya, different ways. So one day, he made an announcement. So in my tradition, they eat once a day. So morning meal is the only meal of the day. So after the morning meal, he says, okay, at 11 o'clock, assemble in this particular shed. There's a particular shed in the monastery. The monastery's got a lot of trees, but there's one opening and there's a shed. This particular shed has got a metallic roof. Right? Assemble in that shed at 11 o'clock, wearing your full robes. What are full robes? We have a lower robe, which is like a skirt. We have an upper robe, which is single layer. And we have an outer robe, which is double layer. We normally wear this when we walk early in the morning for getting our food. We wear all our robes. But early morning is quite cool, right? 11 o'clock, it's quite hot. The sun is out. And this is a shed, but metallic roof. So all the monks come, what is he trying to do? So the monks come, and he's also there. And they sit down. Within 15 minutes, everyone's sweating. There are no fans or nothing away. You're sitting there. It's like an oven. Sun is falling. The steel roof is amplifying that radiant heat. And everyone's sweating. They're wearing these 3 layers: single layer, upper robe, and outer robe, 2 layers. And they're thinking, hopefully it'll be done in half an hour. Keeps going. And he's meditating, so they're also trying to meditate. 1 hour. And they think, oh, 1 hour now, it should be over. It's going 1.5 hours. When is it going to finish? And now who's going to get up? But the teacher himself was sitting there. And by this time, angry thoughts are coming. This is not Buddhism. This is an extremist teaching. This is not what Buddha taught, Majjhima Patipada, middle path. This is not middle path. He's torturing us. I'm going to become like a cooked chicken by the end. But you sit through it, right? So 2 hours, and somewhere between the 2nd and 3rd hour, every single monk had to inwardly let go. What do you do? Now, how much will you suffer? There is a reality of the discomfort of sitting in that heat, but multiplied by resistance. Suffering is experience multiplied by resistance. Any experience without the resistance, notice what happens to suffering. Experience multiplied by welcoming changes it instantly. If you welcome it, it's not a problem. It can actually even become blissful. So every single of those monks, somewhere between the 2nd and 3rd hour, just let go. It is what it is. It is what it is. And you're sitting there, you're sweating away, your legs are hurting, and inwardly let go. It's a great blessing. Women will, those who have to give childbirth will eventually, unless you completely go on to your, what are your painkillers or whatever, you will have to go through this phase of inwardly letting go with physical pain. It's important that we do this. Then it gives us confidence to face our own illness and our own death. So it's a great blessing, actually. So once you've gone through that, Like I would challenge myself as a monk, not to hurt myself, but I would challenge myself. What will happen if I sit for 3 hours without moving? What will happen if I sit for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours without moving? It's painful, it's difficult, but it's very minuscule compared to the bigger pain of old age, disease, and death. And somewhere in the middle of that, you find an immaculate peace, an immaculate freedom, right in the middle. It's not outside somewhere, it's in the middle of it. The way out is through. You've got to go through it. And it's fascinating, waves and waves come. And you realize very, very clearly, more clearly than you can imagine, that in the present moment, there are never any problems. Life just is the way it is. And there's a sense of something is getting purified, something is getting purified. Like the example, when we began, I gave you the example of something you're grateful for. Suppose it was not there, what would happen? So I chose the example of learning meditation when I was 16. What would happen if I hadn't learned that? One thing would be different. My life until then was like a ball of glue, accumulating ideas, accumulating experiences, accumulating disappointments, accumulating, always trying to accumulate, unconsciously accumulating stuff. From there, a shift happened. It began to go from a ball of glue to a ball of wood. So instead of becoming bigger and bigger, heavier and heavier, it began to get lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter. Not perfect, but lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter. And so this I call Vishuddhi rasa. What is Vishuddhi rasa? The taste of purification. If I can wish something for all of you, doesn't matter whether you're a Hindu or Buddhist or Christian or Islamic or whatever tradition you follow, whether which country you're from, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what practice you follow or don't follow. I would love for you to have an intuitive sense of what is it like for things to uncoil, for things to be unraveled, for things to be put down. The taste of letting go, the taste of putting it down. Vishuddhi rasa. That is gold. That is the most precious thing. We may imagine that we are people sitting here deciding things, but the reality is it's a process. And the more such touch points happen of, oh, in the middle of that, I was okay. In the middle of that, I was okay. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, right in the middle of that, I'm okay. Just things just are the way they are. Collapsing the polarities. Collapsing the polarities. Stepping away from the story and getting into the reality. I like what Byron Katie says. She says, reality is kinder than the stories we tell. This might be one of the best things you'll ever hear. Reality is kinder than the stories you tell. In other words, test it out. Test it out right now. What story are you telling about your life? Who are you without that story? If you want a good practice for lifetime, it is chase your fears and love them to death. Make a list of your biggest fears. What are the biggest fears? Becoming destitute, losing everything, losing your reputation. What's the biggest fear you have? That your partner will read your messages on your phone. Be careful, they might have already read that. so, chase your fears and love them to death. Chase your fears and love them to death. What's going to happen? Reality is kinder than the stories you tell. What will you lose? You lose your pretense. You lose your facade. You'll be stripped of who you think you are and who they think you are. And you're left with presence. And presence is sky-like. What a great gift. To not have to pretend to be something that you're not. I remember a lady had come to my session and I made them do the exercise where they had to think of the worst thing that ever happened to them and then sit in a group and discuss why it was the best thing that ever happened to them. The lady talked about being in a very good job and then suddenly out of the blue, unexpectedly, these organizations have very fancy words for this, right sizing. We are right sizing the organization. Meanwhile, people are getting thrown out of their jobs. We just right sized it. So she got right sized and she's like, what? I've given years to this company And they right-sized me. And I'm just left with nothing. Of course, they give her some kind of a sign, whatever, bonus or whatever they want to call it. But suddenly she's lost her purpose. And she said, at that moment, it was the worst thing that could ever have happened. She said, now I cannot thank my boss enough for firing me. That he fired me, he lit a fire under my bum. I had to figure out what to do with my life. And suddenly I began getting next level ideas. And she started her own business. In fact, I heard about, where did I read this? I forget where I read this. Maybe it was on Instagram. Someone posted that this man, he went to some factory. The supervisor of that factory, he gifted him a Mercedes car, Mercedes. And the man said, what is this about? He said, years back, you fired me. I was your subordinate, you fired me. Today, thanks to you, I've started my own business. I've made so much money. I thought I should gift you a Mercedes. You really did a favor for me. What fun. So how do you know it's such a bad thing, right? So this woman said that I'm so grateful that he fired me because it's helped me do what I'm doing today. So this kind of confidence needs to come into our life, that life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. Life is not happening to me, it's happening for what? For your blossoming, for your growth, for shedding all the assumptions and limitations you put on yourself. And that is not always an easy process. We'd love for it to be easy process, but it's not always easy. Why? It's not easy, but the process itself is actually quite easy. The holding on, that's what makes it painful. There's a lovely word in Tibetan, shenpa, the stickiness. See, you just check at the end of the day what unfinished business there is. Maybe you're upset with yourself for not doing something you promised yourself you'd do. Maybe you're upset with somebody in the family, right? What stickiness is there? Then maybe at the end of the week, you check. What stickiness is there? At the end of the month, you check. Or even just simple memory, forget about stickiness. At the end of the day, what do you remember? You don't remember everything. Oh, 5-10 things. At the end of the week, what do you remember? Again, 5-10 things. What do you remember at the end of the month? If I ask you, this month, last year, what were you doing? How much can you remember? You struggle. You remember a few things, maybe, right? Then Facebook sends you a memory. Oh, you did this. Oh, yeah, I did this also. That's wonderful. Often people send me stuff I've written years back. They suddenly post a memory. It's like, oh, wow, I wrote this. Pretty cool. I'm quite impressed with things I wrote years back. So in the same way, the shenpa, the stickiness, what is being, that is the stuff. So now, can we unburden ourselves? Whatever is sticky, whatever we're holding on to, that's actually the pain. The pain is not life, it's the stickiness, it's the unfinished business. Any experience you have partially creates karma. Any partial experience. Why does it create karma? Because it creates residue. Suppose you met a really good friend after a long time, and you had some coffee or tea together. And a part of you is like, it is so good to meet you. We have to meet again, you know, because actually you're not meeting them. Your mind is going into, oh, it's been so many years. We missed so many opportunities. Here we are. This meeting is too short. We should meet again. You're not meeting in totality. Meet in totality. It's complete. And yes, you can meet again, or you will meet again, or you may not meet again. It's a total meeting. It's complete. What would it take? Like, for example, right now we're having this full moon session. And we're assuming we'll have a new moon session, another full moon session, but you don't know this. There's no guarantee. Ajahn Chah used to say, the lovely word in Thai, he'd say, "My ne." So when someone would come to meet him and listen to him and love the teaching and said, "Ajahn, love that so much. I'll come again tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow." He'd say, "My ne." What am I? Not sure. We don't know. don't make such authoritative statements like, "I'll meet you tomorrow." We don't know if you'll meet us tomorrow. Anything can happen between now and tomorrow. My ne, not a sure thing. I've learned this from him that, you know, he would say, suppose they have to go somewhere to another monastery. So the car would be, he said 10 o'clock. And he wouldn't say 10 o'clock, come at 10 o'clock. He said wheels rolling at 10 o'clock. Wheels rolling means wheels rolling. So 10 o'clock, the car will start moving. Now, if you're there or not, mine. If you're there, wonderful. If you're not there, wonderful, stay back. So everyone learned to, if you had to be there, you had to be there. Otherwise, you'd just be left behind. No one's waiting for you. So mine, not a sure thing. It's not a sure thing. So hold it lightly, not tightly. Reality is kinder than the stories we tell. Any experience partially creates karma. Why partially? Because partially means preferences. I want more of something, less of something. And that's also not a problem. That's quite normal. So you experience that also in totality. Even the agendas you have, you experience in totality. I was once driving and I saw this big ad and a very pretty woman on the ad, right? I don't know why they do this when you're driving. You shouldn't be looking away from the road, like designed. So I look and then I look away. I'm like, oh, she's too pretty. And I look away. I say, what's the problem? So then I say, all right, so you're pretty, so fine. So then take in the moment, you're pretty, and it's done. Instead of creating residue, right? Experience it fully and you're done. So move through it. I was once giving a retreat. My mother also had come. And my mother herself has been a trainer. She's been a very, in her time, she was well known and she came in all the magazines and everything. So she comes and in the breaks and she comes and says, Nithya, you should be doing more of this. You should be doing less of this. I said, yeah, Mom, it's okay. and she was trying to control my retreat a little bit. I said, Mom, you've come, just enjoy my retreat. I'm happy to get your suggestions, but don't tell me how to run my retreat. She said, no, you should do more of this. You should do less of this. So at some point I got a little fed up. Then I went to my mom's room. She was sharing a room with somebody else. I said, Mom, you have to talk. This is not working. You're trying to control my retreat. This is not actually working anymore. So I'm having a talk with my mom, and the roommate of my mother is like, Nithya, calm down. She's your mother. I said, I know she's my mother, but right now I'm her son. Nithya, you're a spiritual teacher. I said, no, right now I'm just her son. And I'm having a deep talk with my mom. See? So when I'm with my mom, I'm just a son, and we're just figuring it out, right? We're just dealing with it. It's all right. It's not a problem. And I can share my frustration, and she can share her concern, and it's done. If I take on this, oh, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm so zen, nothing can bother me. But if it is bothering me, then I'm just creating more resentment inside myself. Just go through it. It's over. It's done. Somebody shared a nice thought. These days, all the wisdom you need is available on WhatsApp and Instagram. So, a lovely thought was shared today. If someone has an issue with you, and they're telling everyone except you, they don't have a real issue with you. They just enjoy the attention they get from talking about you. What a great thought, huh? If someone has an issue with you and they're telling everyone except you, they don't have an issue with you. They don't have a real issue with you. They just enjoy the attention they get from talking about you. If you've got a problem with someone, go to them and figure it out. Otherwise, keep quiet. Don't spread negativity. It creates karma. Why does it create karma? I go to Yusuf and I start talking about Smita. Right? Nothing good, Smita. I'm not talking about anything good thing. I'm telling Yusuf all the ways in which Smita showed up for the meeting, but actually she's not practicing anything. And she's just doing her own thing. And I'm very disappointed with Smita. I'm telling Yusuf about this. And Yusuf also nodding and saying, yeah. And I'm unburdening myself to Yusuf. But deep down, Yusuf is saying, today he's talking about Smita. Tomorrow he'll talk about me. So I think I'm unburdening, but you're giving an impression to people. You're the kind of person who talks behind people's backs. When you talk about people behind their backs and everyone laughs, it's a kind of a nervous laughter, because deep down, we're wondering, okay, this is the kind of community. We talk in front of them, we're all very nice and perfect and good. But behind the back, we pull them down. You're losing respect in their eyes. And the worst of all is you're losing respect in front of you in your own eyes. But then you can see yourself split. In front of Smita, I'm so nice and cordial, and behind her back, I'm like this. This creates karma because it's splitting. So total experience. Deal with it. Yeah. One thing I've picked up in my life is no matter how difficult it is, walk the path of truth. Even if it means bad news for you, doesn't matter. Walk the path of truth. Satyame Vijayati. I think it's there on our national emblem, right? Satyame Vijayati. Truth will always win. In truth, there is victory. Why truth is always victorious? The truth is all there is, actually. So when you walk the path of truth, then life becomes really simple. I learned early on in my life that if I tell lies, it looks very cute and nice, but then suddenly you have to remember who you told what lie to, who you told what lie to and when, and then you got to back up those lies with more lies. It can become very stressful very quickly. So unless you have a fantastic memory, it's best to just keep it simple. Just walk the path of truth. Just tell the truth. And then deal with the consequence. Yeah, once in a while it'll not be nice. Just deal with it. Bring it on. Face it. Face the music. I remember on my way to Thailand, I had pretty much, because I was going to become a monk. I was 23 years old. I left my job with difficulty. I'd got permission from my parents. I had given away whatever little money I had, just enough money to go to Thailand and be there for a little while. And I go to the immigration, on the airport, about to go. And the guy finds some technicality, something's missing in my documents, some little technicality, something small. He says, I can't let you go. This is missing. And he's kind of basically saying, give me some money. Imagine what guts, right? Right. And I think nowadays they have video camera, they can't do any of this. But those days, right there, he's saying, 5,000 rupees. I'll let you go. And I said, now I'm going on this journey. I want to become a monk. I want to walk the path of truth. And this guy wants me to start my journey of truth by giving a bribe. I said, well, then I'd rather not go, right? I cannot start my journey like this. And I just stood there and said, all right, what are you going to do then? I'm not going to give you any money. What are you going to do? I just stood my ground. And he saw the resolve in my eyes. He must have seen it, because he got nervous. He said, "Theek hai." Tack, he stabbed it. He let me go. And I'm so glad I had the courage to stand there. All right, what's going to happen? What are you going to do? You're going to cancel it? You're going to cancel my flight? Okay, deal with it. It's a small little technicality he found. Something, my Thai visa had some signature missing or something they'd forgotten to do. So like this, again and again, can you rely on the truth? And face the music if it doesn't work out. Satyame Vijayati. In the Buddha says, Dhammang Rakhanti Dhammacharina. When you walk the path of truth, all the forces of dharma look after you in ways you cannot currently understand. Always protected, always safe. So the more you can have a total experience, deep listening, deep love, deep silence, deep listening, deep love, deep silence, including your inability to have deep listening, deep love, deep silence. That is also a total experience. I acknowledge my agenda. I acknowledge my limitation. And I completely experience my limitation. I completely experience my resistance. I wrote recently, deep trust in my lack of deep trust. Just be quiet for a bit. You have a total experience. So I don't know if this is possible, but I want to transmit to all of you this taste, Vishuddhi rasa, the taste of purification, the taste of letting go, the taste of putting it down, shifting from being a ball of glue, picking up more and more, to being a ball of wool. Instead of every experience defining you, every experience refining you. And how do I transmit this to you? I simply experience it myself. And then if you're all tuned in, then you have no choice but to experience it as well. I want to offer you a few blessings. Just see if you want to receive them. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to have all possible human emotions. Permission to even doubt yourself sometimes. Permission to be at ease and happy, even if everything in life does not seem to be working out. Permission to start again. Permission to forgive yourself for that thing. Permission to trust your process. Permission to enjoy simple things. When the world is telling you, you need to enjoy only the big things. Permission to be contented. And also permission to be ambitious. Permission to have a spiritual practice. And also permission to have no spiritual practice. Permission to be loved and understood. Permission to be despised and misunderstood. Permission to listen to your own intuition, even if it doesn't match what anybody in the world says. Permission to uphold traditions, and permission to create your own tradition. Permission to experience each moment in totality. And even the lack of totality in totality. Permission to trust, the audacity to trust that what's coming up is far more luminous, far more radiant, far more bright, far more beautiful than you could have ever imagined, even if there's no evidence to support that. Permission to have the audacity, the courage to relax and release control over every aspect of your experience and allow grace and a higher intelligence the same intelligence that animates and manages all galaxies, all solar systems, all cells, all atoms. With that intelligence to guide your life. Permission to just be. Permission to be wacky and eccentric and eclectic. Permission to be awakened, whether or not you think you deserve it. Permission to be deluded, because sometimes Shiva likes to forget. Permission to disappoint many, many people. Because when you disappoint them, you appoint them. They were depending on you for their happiness. You set them free. Permission to express your truth and get better at expressing your truth without drama. Permission to be a wide open, bright channel of blessings. All the love, all the wisdom, and all the joy, and all the blessings in the world, for the world, as the world. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. Tathastu. 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 Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Tare tu re soha. 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 Tare tu re mama ayor panye nyan pushting guru soha. Tare tu re mama ayor panye nyan pushting guru soha. Tare tu re mama ayor panye nyan pushting guru soha. Arutperam Jyoti, Arutperam Jyoti, Taniperam Karunai, Arutperam Jyoti, Arutperam Jyoti, Arutperam Jyoti, Taniperam Karunai, Arutperam Jyoti, Arutperam Jyoti, Arutperam Jyoti, Taniperam Karunai, Arutperam Jyoti. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parme Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parme Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parme Satyamayi Parme. Om Kriya Babaji Namo, Kriya Babaji Namo, Kriya Babaji Namo. Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Kriya Babaji Nama, Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Kriya Babaji Nama, Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Om Kriya Babaji Nama, Om. Itipiso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Vidyacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarathi Sattha Deva Manasanang Buddho Bhagavati Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Sandittiko Akkaliko Ehipassiko Apanayiko Pachatang Veditapo Vinyo Hiti Suparipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujuparipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyaya Paripanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Namichi Paripanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yatidam Chattari Purasa Yugani Atta Purasa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahunayo Pahunayo Dakkinayo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyakhittang Lokasati Yecha Buddha Atita Cha Yecha Buddha Anagata Pachuppanna Cha Ye Buddha Ahang Vandami Sabbada Natti me sarananganyang buddho me saranang varang etena satchavajjena sottite hotu sabbada ye cha dhamma tita cha ye cha dhamma anagata pachuppanna cha ye dhamma aham vandami sabbada Natti me sarananganyang dhammo me saranang varang etena satchavajjena sottite hotu sabbada ye cha sangha atita cha ye cha sangha anagata pachuppanna cha ye sangha aham vandami sabbada Natti me sarananganyang sangho me saranang varam etena satchavajjena sottite hotu sabbadati imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yama nimmana pattiyati. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, rakhantu sabba devata. Sabba buddha nubhavena, sada sothi bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, rakhantu sabba devata. Sabba dhammanubhavena, sada sothi bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, rakhantu sabba devata. Sabba sanghanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te. Samastha loka sukhino bhavantu. Samastha loka sukhino bhavantu. Samastha loka sukhino. We'll all take a deep breath and we'll chant together. Om, and I will end with Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Take a deep breath. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well done, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And may the blessings of your practice support you in every aspect of your life. And may you be blessed. May your family be blessed. May all obstacles be flown over like in a jet plane. You fly over all your obstacles and drop some flowers in the obstacles as you fly over them. Don't take life so seriously. Remember to laugh, first of all, at yourself. All the gods are having a great time looking at your life. Full entertainment is happening. There was a nice post on Instagram where this cartoon says, "Your spirit guides you've messed up for the 500th time, and your spirit guide comes with a cake and saying, at least you tried." So you're giving free entertainment to everybody. So have a good time. Ciao. Take care. Let's make a Mayurma. Take a hand up. Make a big heart. Multiply by infinity 3 times. And we say together, Mayurma. You can unmute and say goodbye. So you wake up the sleeping ones.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Night, Nithya ji.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care, be well.
Thank you so much, Nithya. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. God bless.